Hey guys, King of Charmass here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I bring to you my top 3 ABB teams for the Sinnoh Cup. So ABB, yay, ABB. I mean, if you know that song, that's okay. We can be friends. But so it's been a little difficult to like really put two things together because the problem is there's a lot of singular mons that will core break one typing in this meta. For example, a Gastrodon can wipe out poisons. A Gastrodon itself can wipe out the steel types, and along with the majority of the fighters in this meta because of the fact that Lucario and Toxicroak will be the main fighting meta. So ABB is a little hard to pull off, but I have found a few things that actually have worked very, very well. So hopefully these 3 teams do help you out. Making 5 is hard, but especially with the way the meta is shaped out because your options are kind of limited if you're looking for effectiveness. But hopefully these 3 teams do give you a good idea. I've practiced with them. Looked them up. They've done pretty well against certain types and covers the A, of course, in this team. But they're all really strong, so hopefully, again, they give you a good idea of what you want to use. Now, for my mental health tip for the day, it is to laugh, laugh, and laugh. Well, laughter is technically good, so it releases a ton of good, feel-good hormones. Tom Bilyeu, a really great, like, influencer, life coach. At the same time, he is one of the most he does Impact Theory. It's a really great like show where he puts these amazing people on and they tell all the like some of the greatest speakers in the entire freaking universe beyond Pokemon Go, because these are like from the freaking universe. They help billionaires, they do like public speaking, or like just these like some of the greatest influencers on the freaking planet. So names like Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, David Goggins. If you know what I'm talking about, then you probably know that Tom Bilyeu is a pretty dang good dude. So, what he does, whenever he gets to an argument with his wife, or if they feel like something's going on, he asks her to read something from a paper. What happens from that is that she just laughs, he just laughs, and then all of a sudden, like, all of it's gone. No, seriously, it's a great way to, like, de-escalate a situation, or just to even break the ice. For example, I like cracking a joke when I take public speaking for the first time. Like, oh, okay, like, man, you guys are pretty quiet today, or something like that. So yes, it's a really great way. The way King of Charmanders does it is I go on TikTok and I follow a bunch of cat and dog TikToks. Yes, this is what I do when I want to laugh or just look at something cute, because I used to volunteer at animal shelter. I love animals. I used to volunteer, and then I used to like I loved the work I did back in the day, and it's so adorable and just so soothing to see like a corgi just like, oh, can you feed me? Our cat like feed. Yes, I laugh. I find the ways to laugh with animals, and it always works. But it's my mental health tip for you. If you're already doing that, good news. Keep doing it. It works really freaking well. Anyways, here are my top 3 teams. Hopefully they give you an idea of what to run for the Sinnoh Cup. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so for the first team, we have Froslass. Double ground. So we have ice, double ground. Froslass is here to break shields and preserve shields for Gastrodon. Gliscor is kind of an underrated safe switch in my opinion. Of course, if you get lined up against a Froslass, it sucks, but at the same time, there are times where I've had Froslass safe switch and I've been able to find win conditions just because Gastrodon has a great matchup against either what your opponent has in the lead, or just it can mud slap down and it can farm down an entire Bastiodon or the fighter in the back. So it has a lot of play. Gliscor also, in my opinion, is a very underrated safe switch. You have Night Slashes for the Ghost type meta. Earthquakes will threaten Bastiodon really hard, as well as fighters like Toxicroak and Lucario. They will be threatened really hard by Earthquake. So it's a very, very powerful mod. As you see, A for coverage, you got a lot of pressure here. Your ground types, you want to see a Bastiodon. Heck, you could see a fighter. You want to see the fighters too in this meta. Your back row does really well against them. And Froslass is there to threaten Cresselia. I have taken down Cresselias with Night Slashes, and of course with like mud slapping down, like with the bare HP left that I have from Cresselia, because Cresselia, you don't want Cresselia to go against your back row Gastrodon. That's why Froslass and Gliscor are there in the front to break shields, and hopefully Gastrodon can squeeze out those win cons, or you have a target for Gastrodon to farm down or do heavy damage against. As you see, this team does very, very well with a pretty dang low threat score, with your only 2 primary threats being Honchkrow and Prinplup, and honestly, they're not even that much of a threat. Froslass can punish Honchkrow just because Powder Snow is super effective against flyers, and not a lot of you are going to see Primplups. A lot of time what happens is that if you see a Froslass, for example, if you see like an Empoleon Froslass, use it to break shields, sack Froslass in the lead unless you get a really hard loss lead, which you're not going to see a lot for Froslass. Froslass does resist fighters, and even though you have those like Night Slash users like Gliscor, etc., the Froslass is either super effective against it, or there's not too many, like, you still do neutral damage against things like Drapion and against Skuntank. You can pressure shield, etc. And Froslass has great coverage with Avalanche and Shadow Ball. Outside of seeing, like I said, an Empoleon, but even then, I've been able to shield, break 2 of Empoleon shields, and have Gliscor and Gastrodon close out against Empoleon lead. So this gives you a lot of play. Again, you can sacrifice Froslass and lead, use it to break shield, you outright win the lead, and just realign. And it's a very powerful team. Again, Gliscor is kind of underrated. If you boost, you can find out some win conditions, but you can triple Earthquake a Gastrodon. But you could shield 1 Flamethrower and break 2 shields with Earthquake. So Gliscor does threaten Gastrodon really hard, and it has a lot of great coverage, and it does resist the fighters. Again, you want to kind of be careful of ice types just because of Gliscor, but what I found what happens is that if you get a Froslass thrown into you against Gliscor, you can still take out a good chunk of damage with Night Slash, and then you can send your Froslass in to break shields, or you can farm down Gastrodon. It's really up to you. Really strong team. Again, Gliscor is really underrated in my opinion for this meta. Alright, for team number 2, we have Gastrodon, Drapion, and Skuntank. You can use the Shadow versions for both of them. King of Charmanders doesn't have the Shadow version. I accidentally killed all my Shadow Scroopies a while ago on accident when I was making space for the last Pokemon Go Kanto Tour event. So I didn't know they were going to increase Pokemon storage by literally like 1,000. So I'm like, okay. Sheesh. Dang. Well, anyways, the regular version works in Scrims, Gastrodon, Drapion, Skuntank. Like, both of the non-Shadow versions still work well. The reason the Shadow versions are preferred or do more is just because Crunch does more damage, and overall that extra damage does help. But you can make an argument that the extra bulk also helps as well. So either one works. Gastrodon, Drapion, and Skuntank are there to take out the Cresselia weakness that Gastrodon has, just because you don't want to get yeeted by a Grass Knot or by a Leaf Blade from Gallade. So that's why you have Drapion and Skuntank, and both work very well in this meta. As you see here, not a lot of bulk or safety. Drapion is actually very safe. Just the thing about it is that when you have double poison and the Gastrodon's in the back, you better hope you have enough chip damage or you're able to Mud Slap down for the W. That's why you kind of want the non-Shadow versions, just so you have that bulk to squeeze out win conditions, because I found that in experimenting with both, the regular versions did better just against Gastrodon if you plan on running double poison in the back. Great coverage, not all the bulk or safety. You have 3 mons that are very squishy, and not very squishy, but they're not very tanky. Overall, Gastrodon does really well in the lead, and if you're able to take out Bastion, etc., they're probably going to throw the Ghost, or they're going to throw Froslass, or something that Drapion and Skuntank that might have a great advantage against. So that's why we have them in the back. As you see here, your greatest weakness is Froslass, but that's kind of taken out by the fact that Drapion and Skuntank can cover your back row. This one's a little tricky to run, but like I mentioned, in practice, this team has done pretty well just because of what Drapion and Skuntank cover. Be very aware if the Gastrodon's in the back, though. That's the only one you really have to watch out for. Other than that, if you get Gastrodon in the lead and you get the mirror match, try to win it out. Win it out, and then usually if your opponent tries to win out the lead, if you try to win out against Gastrodon, they're going to be like, okay, what do you have in the back? And usually Drapion and Skuntank, if you wipe out the ground type weakness, has great coverage against a lot of the Sinnoh Cup meta. Still a pretty medium, somewhat threat score of 631. 600's on the low side. And then super low is below 600. But as you see here, you're not likely to see Honchkrows, Mamoswines, or Cricketoons, or Staraptors. And I already told you about Froslass and Gastrodon and how to play those out. Because Gastrodon has a great matchup against things like Toxicroak, you don't have to worry about the ground type meta. You might have to worry about, like, if you see, for example, Flyer Lead. That's why we have Drapion and Skuntank. Usually you'll do well against Drift Blims. Drift Blim's a good flyer. Gliscors, yes, you're resisted with poison. You resist poison jab and well, basically poison jab and poison sting, etc. But Drapion does have Aqua Tail, and Crunch can still hit for neutral damage. So Drapion's your safe switch here. Skuntank and Gastrodon can hopefully close out with shields, or if you win switch, Gastrodon can possibly wipe out your opponent's back row. Alright, now the craziest ABB team I have, and it has literally performed way above than what I expected it to be, just because it's really weird. It's Gallade, Lucario, Bastiodon. So it's Psychic Double Steel, or like double fighter, double steel, however you want to say it. But this team is actually really nuts. So what you do is you essentially sacrifice Gallade in the lead, or you break shields and get shield advantage, and Lucario and Bastiodon can close out. Fun fact, Lucario can one-shot Froslass. Actually, it does one-shot Froslass with a Shadow Ball, and it does big damage. So Lucario with Shadow Ball is freaking nuts. And because of Shadow Ball, you're able to cover those ghost types that would normally threaten Gallade. Or what you do with Gallade, again, if you lose lead with Gallade, you're going to use Lucario as your safe switch. Lucario is your number 2 safe switch, but what happens is this. You safe switch into Lucario, they send in their Toxicroak, you wipe out Toxicroak with Gallade. Gallade has a bunch of energy to throw out whatever's in the back, and hopefully Bastion can close out since you've wiped out your opponent's fighter, unless they have another fighter or Gastrodon in the back. In that case, you just get rock, paper, scissors. But because of Gallade's ability to break shields and wipe out the poison type meta, as in Toxicroak, Leaf Blade is able to wipe out a Gastrodon at full power. Close combat doesn't kill a Bastiodon, but it does big damage, and it does big damage against pretty much a majority of whatever doesn't resist it in this Sinnoh Cup meta. Amazing coverage, beef, great grades across the board, just because Bastion's able to support the squishiness of Gallade and Lucario. Overall, this team does very well against a lot of meta picks, with a lot of coverage just because of the charge type moves, and like I mentioned, just because of Lucario's Shadow Ball. I kind of underestimated Lucario's use. I wasn't completely avoiding it. It's just with Gastrodon and the fact that you lose against Toxicroak, it's really hard to play, and you have to have a kind of a little bit of an intricate strategy around it. So, and in practice, this team actually did very well. So I was really kind of surprised, considering your back row can get wiped out by a fighter or a Gastrodon. But I've beaten fighter/Gastrodon teams with this team, so it's pretty nuts. You either sacrifice Gallade in the lead, break shields, and then Lucario and Bastiodon closes out, or you safe switching Lucario. Gallade and Bastiodon can farm down. You throw all that energy back. Gallade with shields or Bastiodon with shields can take out your opponent, or Bastiodon can take an opponent down shields. Because you have a very comfortable matchup against things like Cresselia, Abomasnow, etc. Bastiodon absolutely wipes out Froslass from the face of the planet. As long as it doesn't have a huge energy lead and shield advantage, this team does really well. A really low threat score of 565. Unfortunately, it's not 569. You know, 69 is like one of the most goated numbers along with 420. Unfortunately, it does not meet that criteria. But this team is still really powerful. And like I mentioned, even though your back row is weak to fighters, there is a lot of intricate ways you can switch out and farm down. And with shields and using Bastion's bulk, you can come out with a bunch of different unique win conditions. And I found a lot in practice of Gallade breaking shields against things like Empoleon, then Lucario and Bastion being able to close out with shield advantage. So it's a very, very powerful team. Very difficult to run in the sense that you have to be comfortable with having 2 mods that aren't great against counter users. But if you play this team well, it can do very well for you in this cup. Which kind of made me understand why Lucario is high ranked for what it is, just because Shadow Ball is such a great coverage move, especially with Lucario's attack. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I kind of don't like the ABB concept for Sinnoh, just because there's one typing that can really jack your world up, like I mentioned in the intro. But if you're really comfortable and you like playing this gimmick, then it can do very well for you in the Sinnoh Cup. Again, doing 5 is hard. Top 3 in my opinion. These worked well out of the 7 to 9 combinations I put together, and did at least 10 battles with each. So Really like these 3. Hopefully they give you a good idea of what to run in the Sinnoh Cup. Do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. You could easily subscribe. You see those 2 Charmanders right there? You can easily subscribe by, you see that little sub button to the box at the bottom right. Push your mouse over it. You can easily subscribe from over there. I really appreciate my current subscribers. Hopefully you are looking forward to the Sinnoh Cup so you don't have to play Master League anymore, because Master League Classic, the amount of Zacians and Dialgas running around, this league is more pay to win than ever, and I can't wait till it goes away. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.